Hello everyone. I hope this message finds you fit and fine. My name is Shashank Tyagi. Welcome you all to our contest series Indian Polity based on Lakshmikant. Today we need to talk about federal system in India. First, let's talk about this word federal because this comes in news often due to some state-state conflict or state-center conflict. Have you ever taken sight of center? That how can state actually demand more funds from center? And you associate your political affinity with center. So, if you do that, then this topic is important for you to understand how our political system is arranged. And in lieu of this arrangement, state governments make certain demands on center. And if these demands are specific to Indian context or these demands occur in other areas of the world as well. My friends, these demands are associated with the kind of political system mentioned in Indian constitution or in their constitution. Now, the word federal, this comes from the Latin word fidus, and this means treaty, agreement. But treaty agreement between whom? You can take example that consider these are some small areas. These are some small units, areas governed, having certain government, but these areas lack some military might, economic proneness. And you know what happens if an area is economically or militarily weak? There may be attack from outside, right? And the people in this area may lose life, property. So now they may take decision to actually get under one unit. They can join together and form one bigger unit, and this bigger unit can be called center, and these small units can have different names. For example, in case of India, we can call them states. In case of Switzerland, they call them cantons. In Russia, they call them republics. Yeah, republics. And in case of Canada, they call them provinces. So it means there can be numerous names, but the context is some small units joining together and this bigger unit is being formed, right? Now, this bigger unit can be formed when these small units come together, as I gave you this example, or there can be another way. For example, there is a bigger area. Okay, bigger unit is there. For example, British India. Okay, and British India and their administration organized themselves into certain provinces as well. But at that point of time, when Indian Constitution was being framed, one big unit was sure. Okay, there will be one big unit, that is India, right? Now this big unit is also actually having this in mind that let's organize our area into some small units. So it means these small units were created later. For example, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra, right? So these units were not organized in this manner during British time. They were organized later, right? So it means there can be this model also. Okay? Now, no matter which model we talk about, one thing is clear, that there are small units and there is big unit. Okay? And another thing is clear, that the small units have some list of powers in which they demand some independence. And this big unit also has some list in which this big unit is going to make laws, ensure important decisions are taken timely, right? So now one thing is clear, that this is independent unit in certain areas, and it is due to this relation we call them federal. And whenever center actually subjugate this small unit into these areas which are actually given to them to actually perform, then these states, these constituent units say that, okay, this is not federal. This is against the principle of federalism. This is against the principle of federalism as it was enshrined by our constitutional framers. Okay? So it means now the basic idea of the word federal and this concept federalism is clear to you, right? So among these allegations by different states, for example, Tamil Nadu was raising this point during this 15th Finance Commission, when this commission was about to give its recommendation. So Tamil Nadu government was saying that this recommendation and this formula might be against the interest of Tamil Nadu and certain southern states. So Tamil Nadu and the leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, he was demanding that, oh, these states should come together and then they should raise this voice in front of center. And there were reports that certain political outfits were also demanding cessation from the Indian Union because 15th Finance Commission could have actually given formula where their interest could have been, you can say, subjugated. Now the point is, many people actually by reading this news, they plainly say, oh, this is unbecoming. Why states are doing that, right? So you take the side of center, right? Because you consider that taking side of center make you more nationalist, right? But my friend, nationalism is different, right? Because obviously, when it comes to secession idea, definitely you have to be, you have to take stand against it. But when it comes to states coming together against some financial decision, against legal decision made by center, right, and which they think is their prerogative, they should have been taken into, you can say, the loop while making this reason, then in this context, you should think that these are administrative, political decisions, right, and your nationalism will remain intact even if you try to understand the issues raised by states as well, because ultimate objective is welfare of the people, right? And that's why the both models of organizing regional units were made, right? Now, so scholars actually divide this system of governance into two parts. Means government we can divide into two parts. One, you can say federal government, another you can say unitary government. So here unitary, there's federal. So in case of unitary, as the word says, unitary, unit means one unit. So all the power is vested in this national government, okay, and the regional governments if they are there. But please understand, in unitary government, real power lies with national government, and if there are some regional units, then power will be given only by national government. It will be given, okay. It is not that clear division was initially chalked out, okay. But in case of federal government, we have some federal features in Indian Constitution, right? For example, division of power between center and state in Schedule 7 of Indian Constitution, where we have three lists, right? Union list, state list, concurrent list, right? So here we see national government and the regional government, they are actually operating in the respective jurisdictions independently, taking their power from these lists, okay? But here they derive the authority from the national government. Real power lies with national government, okay? I've told you about the difference between the models of government. It is not like in case of federal government, the model which we are seeing here is exactly the model which we have in India. We have a hybrid model. Even the word federal is not mentioned in Indian Constitution, okay? And the word we use for Indian model, as K.C. Viere used it, he says quasi-federal, means not fully federal, not fully unitary. We have adopted a middle path here, okay, for considering the challenges in Indian context. So we have some examples in unitary: Britain, France, Japan, China, Italy, Belgium, Norway, Sweden. In case of federal government, we have US, India, Switzerland, Australia, Canada, Russia, Brazil, Argentina, right? So moreover, we are having federal government model, but We are not idealistically, right? And when I say idealistically, for that you need to understand the model which was adopted by world's first established federation, and that was USA, United States of America. Now, just take a look what thing is clear to you. Federation, you are clear with this definition, you are clear with this idea that is not mentioned in our constitution. Indian federal system is based on Canadian model. What does it mean? It means in our case, center is more powerful than state. So this model was adopted by Canada and we have adopted also. Okay, that is why we call it Canadian model. Now this federation can be made by two ways. One is integration. For example, after American Revolution, when United States of America was getting formed, it took a long while, right? But initially, 13 states, they came together. Means integration happened. And why? Because they found themselves that we are militarily and economically not viable enough to secure our interest, and that is why it is better that we join together, right? So militarily weak, economically weak, backward, and they join together, that is integration. Then we have disintegration. What does it mean? A big unitary state, for example, India as a state. Now, India as a state has this power using Article 3 that we can actually carve out new states as well, right? We have carved out in this whole journey. So, in this case, the state status to a particular region is also given by the national government, right? So this is disintegration, granting autonomy to the provinces to promote regional interest. And this is the purpose. For example, Uttarakhand was carved out of Uttar Pradesh for what? For spurring economic growth, right? Jharkhand was carved out of Bihar. The reason was growth. Chhattisgarh from Madhya Pradesh, reason was growth, right? So it means here we are observing disintegration. Okay? Disintegration means breaking. Okay? Example, Canada and India, there we call it disintegration model. Okay? So I think this is clear to you. Now, attempt this question. And I find this question as direct, but there is some intricacy involved. Federal form of government power. Just attempt this question. You have 5 seconds to attempt. Power is vested in national government and state government. Power is vested in state government only. Power is vested in national government only. So by simple logic, most of the students, what they are going to do, they are going to remove these options. Yeah, these options are clearly wrong, right? And some students actually are going to mark A as the answer, because the word is power is vested in national and state government. So they will think, okay, yes, power is there. In case of India, power is there with state as well as national government, right? But this option is also wrong. The reason is, question is saying federal form of government power. So they can say federal form of government may be represented by which of the following statement. Sorry. So in this case, what you are going to do, you have to actually understand which definition actually defines this federal concept. So do you think if someone reads this, that person will be able to identify, yes, this is federal form? No. Because I told you now that in case of unitary government, there may be state, there may be region, and it may be possible that national government will give some power to the state government, right? So in this case, do you think this is directly connecting to the federal form? No. For federal form of government, there should be mention of the word divide, means division of power between center and state. Okay, these details you need to be clear about. So divided between national government and regional government, and both, since they have clear division of power, they can operate in their respective jurisdictions independently. Okay, I hope now you're not going to commit this mistake. Now, let's compare federal and unitary features, and this is quite simple to even remember. Okay, UPSC asked one question from here: which of the following features can be represented as federal features, right? So now take a look. dual government, it means there will be two government. One government at the center, other government at the level of state. Next, you can see written constitution. Now, what federalism has to do with written constitution? There's a reason to that. If constitution is written, then this will have a structure, defined power sharing between center and the constituent units, right? If in case this is not written, the whole power to decide what is going to be considered as constitution is given to parliament at the level of center, don't you think the rights of the constituent units can be subjugated at any point of time, right? So this clarity needs to be in your mind that written constitution is a feature of federal government, because if these features are clearly written, then there will be a clear clarity in the at state level. Yeah, these are the areas in which we have to work. We are safeguarded by constitution. Okay. Now, division of power. That is quite obvious. We were talking about this. National and regional government, they should have clear division of power. Supremacy of the constitution. Constitution should be supreme. It means no other organ of the government can supersede constitution, because it may be possible, parliament will try to actually take away the power of state. But this cannot happen in Indian context. Why? Because we have supremacy of constitution, right? There are provisions where actually parliament can actually make law with respect to state list. There are provisions, but this provision cannot be used arbitrarily. There's a logic behind it. If at any point of time parliament try to actually trespass into the prerogatives of state arbitrarily, that is not important for the national integrity unity. So in this case, what Supreme Court is going to do? Supreme Court will declare such law null and void. So that is why, because Supreme Court is the actually guardian of Indian Constitution, and supremacy of Indian Constitution is a feature. Rigid Constitution. Here rigid Constitution is related to amendability. Means it is difficult to amend Indian Constitution, and especially in federal governments, right? This feature is there, because if amendability is easy, then at any point of time the power dynamics, the area of working between center and state can be changed. So this need not to be changed. That's a promise actually center and state have to uphold between them, right? So that is why rigid word is used. Okay, means amendability is difficult. Then independence of judiciary, because only judiciary can actually ensure supremacy of constitution when center and state are in conflict, right? So basically independent judiciary is needful for this federal government for two reasons. There are two reasons. Number one, to uphold supremacy of constitution, right? One reason is that, and there's another reason. Second reason is Supreme Court, means in this case judiciary, is going to listen to the conflict between center and state and resolve the conflict between center and state, right? So legal disputes can be taken at the level of judiciary, and a state will go to the judiciary only when there's independence of judiciary, right? So do we have some features of independence of judiciary in Indian context? Yes, we do have. For example, fixed tenure, right? You have when it comes to their salaries, you have security that their terms of engagement cannot be changed during their tenure, right? So this represents independence of judiciary. Judiciary has independence with respect to the financial needs they have, right? In Parliament chapter, we are going to discuss this. What is the difference between charged on consolidated fund of India and what factors can be voted? So safety, you can say independence is given to judiciary. That's a feature of federal government. Bicameral legislature. What does it mean? We have two levels at the level of parliament, two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And the Rajya Sabha word itself represents Council of State, right? So my friends, you should know this fact that when federalism as a concept was evolving in West, so it emerged from this idea that small units should have some say in legislative body at the center, small units should have say in legislative body at center, because Lok Sabha actually represents will of people when whole of India is taken into consideration. But when it comes to state specific issues, we need a separate body, separate house, that is Rajya Sabha, right? And in case of India, we have representations given to a state in Rajya Sabha based on population, and this representation varies from 1 to 31, right? And this is different because in case of India, how many seats a particular state is going to have in Rajya Sabha depends on the population you have, right? There's no equality in representation with respect to, states. But in case of America, their federal model is such that in US Senate, every state is given 2 seats. No matter how much population you have, no matter what territorial area you have, 2 seats. And that is why the seats are 100, because 50 states they have, and then independent area Washington DC, right, district. So this is the difference between American and Indian model. But bicameralism is a feature of federal government. Please remember that. Okay. Now, when it comes to unitary government, it is quite easy to remember. Just take a look that we were so actually clear about this, ki, yeah, these are the features which are needed for federal government, right? In case of unitary, there's a mix. Means maybe written, maybe unwritten, maybe rigid, may not be rigid, maybe supremacy of constitution, may not be supremacy of constitution. Take a look. Unitary government, single government is there, right? Real power lies with center. And center may create regional government, they may give some power to them. But power is coming from the center. Constitution may be written and may be unwritten. For example, France written and Britain unwritten. Both have unitary government. No division of power, means all power are vested in the national government. But here we have division of power. Constitution may be supreme, may not be supreme. For example, constitution is supreme in Japan. And constitution is not supreme in Britain, because in Britain parliament is supreme. Parliament is deciding which law is going to be considered part of constitution, right? Constitution may be rigid, may be flexible. In case of France, it is rigid. In case of Britain, it is flexible. Judiciary may be independent, may not be independent. Legislature may be bicameral, may not be bicameral. For example, unicameral in China, bicameral in Britain. So it means you should remember the features of federal government. You should be clear about the concept, right? The logic behind them. And here, in case of unitary, you can consider maybe. Okay? So I think it is clear to you now. Now, why India adopted federal system? 2 major reasons. First is our geographical expense, means our large size, right? In large size, to manage it, there may be some regional aspirations in this area which may be different from this area. So if we divide some power between center and this area, so it would be better for the people of these areas if their regional aspirations can be heard at the level of state as well. If there are some national aspirations that can be heard in Lok Sabha, regional aspirations can be taken into consideration at the level of state as well, right? Socio-cultural diversity, if socio-cultural diversity is such, then it means we should actually divide the power into different regional units, right? Now, Article 1, it describes India's state as a union of state. There's no mention of the word federal. And connotation is that, meaning is that India is an indestructible union of destructible state. So what does it represent? It means although we are actually having union of state, it means we are talking about a federal model, but the power is tilted towards center. Union of states has been preferred over this. Indian Federation is not the result of agreement. We are not result of agreement, right? Because India as a state was created, and then India as a state was actually making that, yeah, these states will be there. Because American Federation was actually a result of an agreement that some states were coming together. But here, we're not coming together. So there are 2 models, coming together, holding together. We're not coming together, right? We are holding together, and we were carved out. The states have no right to cede from the federation, right? Federation is union because it is indestructible. Now, features of federalism, those features which we have discussed, I have just given representation here. Now, unitary features, means in case of India, we have federal features, we discussed it, right? Now, we also have some unitary features. For example, integrated judiciary. Supreme Court, High Court, and then lower courts. Integrated judiciary is there, right? A strong center is there in India. What does it represent? Unitary features, right? There are areas where center has more power than state, right? States not indestructible. Article 3. States can be divided, and state can be divided and by parliament, and state will not have any, you can say, any power to stop that if we talk about state legislature, because such bill will be given to state, but their recommendation or their apprehension is not binding on parliament, and this state can be divided by simple majority. I told you in Article 3, Article 4. Single constitution is there. We don't have the system that state can have their own constitution, right? In US case, they have. Single citizenship is there. You need to be citizen of India. You need not to be citizen of other state, right? Flexibility of the constitution. There is amendment procedure, and in case of amendment can be done by simple majority. In some cases, as I gave you we'd had this discussion in amendment to Indian Constitution part, and I gave you example in Article 3, Article 4, right? Apart from this, there are some amendments in which state assent is not needed, right? Emergency provisions are there, Articles 352, 356, 360, and when they are used, the power dynamics between center and state, they actually get tilted towards center. So it is a unitary feature. No equality, as I told you. In case of Indian Rajya Sabha, we have 1 to 31 seats based on population they have. But in case of US, they have this concept of equality, 2 seats per state, right, in their Senate. So now critical evaluation of the federal system. It means what are experts' opinion on India's federal system? Take a look what K.C. Vere says. He says, India is not completely federal. India has unitary features and these subsidiary federal features rather than a federal state with a subsidiary unitary features. Okay, so it means if we have to decide between federal and unitary features, we have more unitary features and subsidiary federal features. Okay, so you can use this statement in your mains answer. So that's why he used this word, India is a quasi-judicial state, a quasi-federal state. You should use the word federal. Quasi-federal means that we are not completely federal. We have adopted a golden mean path. Okay. Now, according to K. Santhanam, India has practically functioned as a unitary state. It means both observations are talking about unitary feature. Though the Indian Union states have tried to function formally, legally as a federation. That we have Rajya Sabha, we have setups in which state upholding the laws made by center. We have this finance commission deciding, giving the formula, recommending the formula of division of financial resources. So it means K. Santhanam is saying, yeah, legally we have functioned as a federalism also, but still we should know that we have unitary features. And why we were having unitary features? Because of the challenges which constitutional framers were observing in India. The challenge of secession, right? Now, Paul Appleby, he says that Indian system is extremely federal. He says that there is division of power. Morris Jones termed as bargaining federalism. Bargaining federalism means now state governments, because they have their political, they can have their political might in center as well. On this basis, they actually bargain with the center. For example, regional parties, when regional parties, they are supporting the coalition at the center, they say we are going to support only when you give 10,000 crore package, a special package to our state. So this kind of bargaining also happens in Indian federalism. Grenville Austin says Indian federalism as a cooperative federalism. It means center and state have a lot of areas where they both cooperate. For example, Niti Aayog, GST Council. It means in GST Council, both center and states are there, right? And they take part into decision whether what should be the GST slab, right? And Niti Aayog, when it comes to big ideas, it is Niti Aayog which actually take into consideration the views of states, check the practicability of those ideas and give recommendation to the center if such policy can be made for that state. So it means Grenville-Austin cooperative federalism can be seen here. So in Bombay case, Please remember, Bombay case was related to misuse of Article 356 by Union, where state governments were toppled for political gain using Article 56. So Bombay case clearly said that no, this misuse of Article 56 should not happen, and just federal system, federalism is the basic structure of Indian Constitution. Okay, so whenever it comes to federalism question, you can quote Bombay case establishing federalism as the basic feature of Indian Constitution. Okay. Now, do we know some trends which actually represent that yes, in Indian political system there is federal spirit? So you can clearly remember them. For example, we have territorial dispute between states. So if territorial disputes are there in between state, it means they recognize themselves as independent political and administrative unit. That is why they are having this conflict, right? We have conflict on water issues, water sharing. We have this emergence of regional parties, and these regional parties actually showing influence in Lok Sabha as well. We have creation of new states, right, on this agenda of development. We have this more financial grant demand by different states. We have this assertion of autonomy of the state, that they want more power. They need certain areas need to be given more, you can say, more authority. So what does it represent? It represents that at the regional level, political and administrative unit has this consideration that there are areas in which they are independent from the national government, and this is called federal spirit. I hope you are clear with the concept now, right? Now attempt this question. Which of the following are recommendations by Sarkaria Commission? You should remember Sarkaria Commission, Punchi Commission on Center-State Relations. So you should just go through the recommendations made by this Sarkaria Commission, and you can quickly use these points whenever a question is asking you to have arguments on center-state relations. Okay, so if you go through them by recommendation, you will be able to understand the issues as well. Okay, so just take a look. What do you think? A, B, C, D, all four. So answer is all of the above. Okay, so these are the recommendations of Sarkaria Commission. So I hope now things are clear to you about the idea of federalism, right? If anyone you is going to purchase some course from StudyIQ, you can use this code for double validity, and 3% extra discount is going on. Now this PDF will be available in Shashank Tyagi for you Telegram group, and I am available on Instagram, Twitter. So this handle can be used apart from this Shashank Tyagi, Shashank.powerbeing handle is also there on Insta. So if you find any doubt or anywhere I can be of help in your preparation, I'll be more than happy to help you out. See you.